Julie was 35 years old, with a seemingly solid marriage and 2 young children who were the light of her life. Her husband, Ryan, was the kind of man many women would dream of having: caring, devoted, and always ensuring Julie had time for herself amidst the chaos of family life. They had married young, and over the years, built a peaceful and predictable routine filled with love but also steeped in monotony. Over time, this predictability began to weigh on Julie. She felt trapped in an endless cycle, taking care of the kids, working, managing the house, and trying, without much success, to maintain a marriage that no longer brought the excitement it once had. She couldn't pinpoint exactly when she started feeling like something was missing, but the sensation grew like an unfillable void, one neither Ryan's affection nor happy family moments could address. It was during this period of dissatisfaction that Andrew entered her life, a newly hired analyst at the company where Julie worked as a project manager. He was young, charming, and exuded a confidence that seemed to magnetize everyone around him. At 30, Andrew had a relaxed and spontaneous demeanor that starkly contrasted with the structured and regulated life Julie led. At first, she saw him as just another talented and promising co-worker, but their daily interactions soon took on a different tone. It started innocently enough. Andrew would crack jokes during meetings, eliciting laughter from everyone, including Julie, who often felt embarrassed for laughing more than she should. They occasionally had lunch together, discussing work, hobbies, and even sharing some personal stories. Gradually, Andrew began complimenting Julie in a subtle yet effective way. "You always manage to look so elegant, even with everything you have going on," he said once, drawing a shy smile from her. Julie knew something was changing within her. She felt more excited about going to work, started putting more thought into her outfits, and found herself wondering what Andrew thought of her. One day, during a coffee break, he lightly touched her arm while making a joke, and the simple gesture sent an unexpected shiver through her. She felt guilty, but also alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. Their conversations became increasingly personal. Andrew seemed to notice things about Julie that Ryan had overlooked. He'd comment on when she looked tired, compliment small changes in her appearance, and always made an effort to listen. Around Andrew, Julie felt seen and valued in a way she hadn't experienced in a long time. The turning point came on a Friday night. The team had gathered to celebrate a coworker's birthday at a bar near the office. Julie had been reluctant to go, but Andrew convinced her. Throughout the night, they talked more than usual, the air between them thick with an unspoken tension. When Andrew offered to walk her to her car, the inevitable happened. In the dark parking lot, he gently pulled her close and kissed her. Julie froze for a few seconds before kissing him back. The kiss was intense, filled with a passion she hadn't felt since her early years with Ryan. When they pulled apart, Andrew smiled and said, "I'm not going to apologize for that." Julie felt torn between guilt and desire, but deep down, she knew that moment would be the first of many. In the days that followed, Julie tried to return to normal, but she couldn't. Her mind was constantly on Andrew. She began finding excuses to spend more time at work, extending meetings, and taking on extra tasks that allowed her to be alone with him. At home, Ryan didn't immediately notice the changes, but their children began to comment that their mother seemed more distracted. Andrew, for his part, made no effort to hide his interest. He sent messages outside work hours, suggested impromptu meetings, and made it clear he wanted to continue what they'd started. Julie tried to resist, but she couldn't avoid their clandestine encounters. Each time they were together, the connection grew more intense, like an addiction she couldn't break. Her relationship with Ryan started to deteriorate rapidly. He noticed Julie's increasing distance but attributed it to work stress and the demands of family life. When he tried to talk to her, Julie would deflect or become defensive. Confident in the love he thought they shared, Ryan had no suspicion of anything more serious. Meanwhile, Julie was diving deeper into her affair with Andrew. Their meetings became more frequent and less discreet, and her guilt was increasingly overshadowed by desire and adrenaline. At work, her behavior grew bolder. The exchanged glances between her and Andrew became more obvious, and a few colleagues started noticing that something was going on. Andrew, however, never showed the same level of emotional involvement as Julie. For him, the affair was an exciting adventure, but one without strings attached. He avoided conversations about the future and dismissed any suggestion of deeper commitment. Julie began to sense this, but the idea of ending their relationship was unbearable. At home, Ryan started putting the pieces together. He noticed Julie's mood swings, her frequent excuses, and the way she seemed perpetually distracted. One evening, while she was in the shower, Ryan saw a notification pop up on her phone, a message from Andrew. It was subtle but enough to spark suspicion. He didn't confront her immediately, but his confidence in their marriage began to crumble. Julie, meanwhile, lived in a constant state of conflict. She loved Ryan in some way, but she couldn't give up the excitement Andrew brought into her life. She knew she was treading dangerous ground but couldn't see a way out. Andrew started to pull away, sensing Julie was becoming more attached than he wanted. The tension at home came to a head when Ryan finally confronted her. He summoned the courage to ask directly about Andrew, and Julie couldn't deny it. The confrontation was explosive, filled with tears and accusations. Devastated and furious, Ryan left the house that night, leaving Julie alone with the consequences of her choices. Though Ryan returned a few days later for the sake of their children, their marriage was never the same. Julie continued seeing Andrew for a while, but he eventually ended the affair, leaving her to bear the full weight of her decisions. She lost not only Ryan's trust but also the peace of her own conscience. Now, Julie lives in a routine marked by regret, knowing she destroyed her family's stability for something that was never meant to last. Ryan, though still present, maintains an emotional distance that Julie knows can never be bridged. She carries on with her life, but the emptiness she sought to fill remains, larger than ever.